Good morning and welcome to our Solutions Showcase event here at the wonderful venue at the Gannet in Edinburgh Zoo in Scotland, where we're looking forward to welcoming around 50 of our Scottish customers to show them our energy efficient and low carbon commercial heating and hot water solutions. I'm Anne Wraith and I'm Head of Commercial Product Sales at Baxi, and today I'm joined by Colin and Alan Omond, who are Technical Solutions Managers for Scotland, and Ryan Kirkwood, who is our Engineering Solutions Manager. Baxi is one of the leading heating and hot water providers in the UK. We provide solutions for both the commercial and the residential sectors. We're proud to be the home of some of the most respected and valued brands in heating and hot water today. These include Romea, Andrews Water Heaters, and Heatway Sadia. Today, we will be discussing the opportunities and challenges around decarbonising heat in commercial and non-domestic buildings, with a special focus on Scotland. Scotland has set a more ambitious climate goal than the rest of the UK, with a target to reach net zero by 2045. This is 5 years ahead of the UK's target. The Scottish Government recently unveiled a new set of legally binding carbon budgets that will define the country's emissions limits from 2026 all the way through to 2045. The proposals will be voted on by MSPs this autumn. The proposed carbon limits are ambitious. Between 2026 and 2030, greenhouse gas emissions will need to fall by 57% compared to 1990 levels. By the final phase, in 2041 to 2045, that reduction target jumps to a massive 94%. So far, Scotland has already managed to cut emissions by 51.3% since the 1990 baseline. As we know, decarbonising heat is crucial for achieving net zero emissions and meeting our legally binding climate targets. Heat represents some 13% of Scotland's overall greenhouse gas emissions and around 30% of total energy consumption. Hence, the move away from fossil fuel-based heating systems such as natural gas towards low-carbon alternatives like heat pumps and heat networks. Colin, you work primarily with consultant engineers. What issues do you see with them on a day-to-day basis, and what are your customers telling you about attitudes to decarbonising heat and with themselves and their own clients?
Thanks, Anne. We're looking at a unique by unique project. For example, it may be an existing building where it might be a retrofit idea of stripping out existing stuff that's in there and encompassing that with heat pumps or whatever. Or we may have a blank canvas where we'll be able to look at a building out of scratch, basically from ground level and up, and that affords us an even better solution because the scenario is the U values are better in that particular instance, etc. So there is various drivers that take place in discussions that I get on a daily basis from customers. It's always very job specific. There's factors in there like the cost. There's factors like do we do a retrofit? Or can we strip out? Can we include all forms in it? There's also limitations with electrical loads and things like that as well. We have been quite successful with the passive house school scenario where it has been heat pumps that have actually physically done the heating side of it, or probably more in an underfloor heating side vein. And then we've come in with our products with the heat rate to do point of use electrical because the U values are...
Just talking about the heat rate products, given the importance of electrification of hot water generation and in commercial buildings, how important is it for consultants to design these options into buildings and that they fully understand how much our products can fulfill this role?
Well, as you know, we have a wide portfolio of products now within our armoury to be able to offer up any particular solution that we have going forward. And that is the difference. We're not just like a one-trick pony on this, so that we can be very flexible with what equipment that we actually physically are able to encompass into their design practice. So, which is quite unique to the market, to be perfectly honest. So if they want to go down the point, the electrical side, we have that option. And I'm not discounting certain forms of gas if it has to be a mixture between gas and air source heat pumps for a bit more of a retrofit or just hybrid setup. So yes, I think the good thing is they're looking at a specific project when I go and see them, and we have something to fit the bill to go into that. We also have a very strong back office design capability that can assist them along that journey as well. So yes.
So talking about individual projects and making the solution fit the problem, as it were, can you think of any notable achievements that we may have had up to date on projects that have worked well using this type of solution?
Certainly, we've been quite sort of strong, as I say, in the passive house school thing. That's where the schools come out to sort of from the ground, basically, from design through. So we've been involved from the point of view of a mixture. Say we've had ones with Perth and Kinross and various other local authorities where the school has been, as I've explained before, air source heat pump orientated for the heating, which has normally predominantly been an underfloor heating setup. And the U values are great in these buildings. And then we've gone and put in point of use electrical heat rate units for the hot water provision.
Interesting. Ryan, can I just bring you in here at this point? From an engineering solutions and design perspective, how can we at Baxi best support our customers through the energy transition?
Gosh, I mean, where do you even start with that? Because we've been doing this for so long. We've built this not only portfolio of products and solutions, we also have this like knowledge that we transfer, right? So one of the key things that we always say is we want to open source our knowledge. If we find out something that works really well in a project, we want to share that with all our customers. So in terms of actually the mechanisms and the services we have a full back office design team. We also have like guys like Alan and Colin who can go out and help survey. One of the most important things with any consideration is the initial project feasibility, right? So Colin touched on it a little bit earlier with, do they have the full electrical supply? So if we have this deboilerification, they want to take out the boilers and put in heat pumps or point of use electric, is the electrical capacity there? If it's not there, then we can help, do things like, well, let's do a phased hybrid solution, and that's part of this feasibility question. That really leads us into optioneering, which is, right, we know the facts, we've done the survey, we know what the client brief is, we know where their journey, where they want to take this building in terms of its decarbonisation goals. Well, what options can we do now? What do we do next and what do we do later? And it's all about the impact assessment of that, because capital isn't infinite and the results have to be almost immediate. So the optioneering is something that we really enjoy doing. We will give our opinion, what we believe is the best, but ultimately it has to be a decision. And it's a decision we want to be involved with, right? Given that we have this knowledge. The investigative engineering is something that we like to do as well during the optioneering phase, which is really, can we actually measure what the building uses? Because I think you guys will attest to this in yourself, Lan, where you go into a building, there's 3 boilers there, but 2 of them are broken and one of them's in bits. And the other one that's left working is serving the full school. So then when you think about it, does that building need 300 kilowatts? Yeah, exactly. So actually understanding what the building needs, and this is the building physics side of the argument, what do we actually use? What does the energy profile look like? Do we try and resolve some of the inefficiencies in the building? We've seen this with schools in particular, where we have overheating in certain rooms because we're putting 82 degrees in a pipe that to try and heat the building to 21 degrees is ludicrous. But that investigative engineering side is very important, and we love to get involved with that. The next thing is what we keeping and what we taking out. So if there's boilers there that works, let's keep them. Let's work with them. If there's boilers there that don't work, well, let's look at that as part of the hybrid solution. A system is only as efficient ultimately as a system. If there's a product or a part there that's dragging overall efficiency down, it will drag the efficiency of the system down. So that's really important. And I think the main thing for us is just, let's be honest with each other here. We know we're trying to decarbonize, but we also know that the heating system has, the one job of a heating system is to heat. If it doesn't heat the building, it doesn't perform, it's not doing its job. And I think we forget about this. Some buildings just aren't suitable for low temperature heating. So we need to build this into the overall investigative engineering, optioneering, and ultimately project delivery. Yeah.
I think also there's an education piece as well for your role, isn't there, with the customer, with the client, to educate them to what is a builder, what's not, and what's going to work and what isn't going to work with their building.
Yeah, great question. And a really difficult one to impact. Traditionally, manufacturers have always had this role of supplying products, right? So our customers, be they consultant engineers, whether it be heating engineers, whether it be M&E contractors, will come to us and say, this is what we want, and we will provide that. But over the last 10, 12 years, we've seen this phase shift where we're part of that development. We're part of that journey. Our knowledge, not just in our products, but the application of our products into different solutions is really what separates us from other people. And there's a lot of different companies that do this really well. And what we really see as ourselves as being not only product builders and manufacturers, we are solution providers. And a huge part of that solution is, hey, this isn't what we believe to be the right thing to do, or you're definitely on the right track. Let us help you with this, or that's 10 out of 10. Let's go for that. The key thing, the absolute key thing is transparency and honesty. We want our products to work as a solution, as a system overall. We don't just care about how efficient our heat pump is or how efficient our boiler is. We care deeply about how efficient the system is. So we care about all of that side of things. And that is where the open sourcing of our knowledge is. We don't guard our knowledge, right? We don't monetize this to a certain extent. We want to help our clients and our customers design better, install better, and service better.
What key about the customer, about results, and it's not actually going to do, but the system's going to do what it's meant to do.
We want it to be there from cradle to grave. So that was from the initial conception of a project, which we are on the design side, right through to the handover and even beyond and back through, so that we're part of a process. And it's a long, elongated process, but we're part of that process. So the industry sea changed from the point of view of there's a boiler, I walk away onto the next one. That process is a continuous thing, and it's a journey that as Ryan's quite adequately said, that we're part of now. And that's how I see the industry going, us going forward, certainly. Yeah.
Alan, we're speaking about education just a moment or two ago, and changes about how the landscape definitely is changing, particularly in the commercial sector. And we're finding that even traditional contractors, gas contractors, are now thinking about how they're going to have to change and what they're going to have to do different to drive their business to future-proof it, basically. And so given those particular changes, you work very, very closely with contractors. How important do you see training for contractors in this to enable them and to help them to future-proof their businesses?
It's absolutely massive. A lot of the traditional gas companies are just used to fitting a boiler. And their thought process on it is they've got to future-proof their business. So they've got to be able to evolve and change. That's probably more something that we would have seen over the past 10 years. Companies who were traditionally gas would stick to gas. It's what they know. It's what they're comfortable with. Having conversations with a lot of them lately, they are looking to evolve. A lot of them have got younger engineers, people who are more up to date with technology, and they're looking at the future. They are looking at 2045. Even though they're trained in being a gas engineer, they're saying to themselves, well, what more training can I have? Because in 2045, we might not need to fit a gas.
Yeah, so do you think the younger ones understand that we do have to change it? They are, but their skill set's going above to hey.
Absolutely. I've done a couple of meetings with traditional gas companies lately, and a lot of them they're on the director level and they've been passed in for their files and stuff like that, and they are traditional gas companies, and they think themselves, well, where are we going to be in 10 years' time? So we need to start making moves to prepare ourselves for the change. And this is where we come in, because this is where our training can help them with all the new skill set that's required to make their businesses evolve. And that's vastly important to a lot of these companies now. And whereas in the past, they would probably disregard it and just traditionally stick to what they're good at. But nowadays, you've got to move with the times, and everything's changing. So, and that's what we've seen lately, to be fair, more than ever.
Yep, I agree. So do you think that the there definitely will be challenges in retrofit for buildings. And how do you think the contractors are best placed to address that? And how can we help them overcome?
We've had quite a few lately. Notably one with an NHS where they had 3 megawatts of boilers, but they like a bit of redundancy. So obviously it's dual fuel. So a lot of it is oil and gas. Now we're coming to the point where we don't manufacture the solution needed. So they're now looking at us to say, well, what can we offer? But for something that's such a high output, it's now becoming more difficult for them. And they've now come to us and saying, what solutions do you have? So we are really working for the ground up with them, to be honest with you. So these are the challenges they're facing. Is when you've got something that's such a high output, NHS, they need a redundancy. If gas goes down, they need to be able to have heat and hot water. So how can we help them with that?
And so contractors are looking to us to help and provide.
They've came to us and asked for us for the solution. So that's what we found lately. And we're working on a couple at the moment called to be fair. So that's something, if that becomes to fruition, I'm interested to see what road they take with that. But again, sometimes that comes in the budget. Budgets are not quite there, especially the NHS. Everything's quite tight.
Yeah, sometimes the budget doesn't actually match the ambition.
It doesn't, we see it as a kind you see it as a collaboration and between us and the customer on a job by job basis, basically. So yeah, that's it.
Ryan, how do you see what would be the role of heat networks in this?
Sorry, before we jump on that, can I just jump in on that point there? Apologies, I was trying to get in there a bit, fight with Colin there, you know. Alan brought up a really good point there, and I just want to take that moment to really talk about investigative engineering again and optioneering, right? So we take that example where you've got a hospital or an NHS which does need that redundancy, right? They've traditionally had very cheap gas, large megawatts of boilers that are a fortune to maintain, quite specialist, a lot of these as well, because of the type of burners or the type of heat exchangers they've got in them. But that is a prime example of where we really need to see in the industry, people stepping up and saying, right, do we actually have to replace what is there with like for like? Can we employ a professional consultant or design service, someone to survey, look at the remedial works that have been done to the hospital? Has there been fabric improvements? Has there been better heat recovery ventilation? And certainly air handling, and there's something post-COVID that people really, that is taking precedence in the air quality. But of course, if we're recovering heat, we might not need as much heat to temp the fresh air. Regardless, the fact is, if we were to do, not ourselves, but as an industry, if we were to do more time and spend more money up front and actually understanding what the building needs, this could lead to a lower capital outlay in the heat generation plant. Not just a lower capital outlay, lower running costs, and ultimately lower servicing costs. Now that may kind of seem, counterintuitive to a manufacturer because we want to sell the big stuff, right? But it's very, very true. Also, let's look at a performance. From a performance point of view, if we have a smaller heat load and we have smaller boilers that are managing that heat load, for example, in a cascade, we can match the load better and we can control the load in that building in a lot more dynamic way. So if we have a little bit as an industry of money up front to do that investigative engineering, it just bodes so much well. Also at that point where we can add benefit, saying, okay, we don't offer what you need at the moment, but here's some ideas to help you decarbonize. Here's where, after the project's done, if you want to bolt on some heat pumps, here's some of the things that we can help with. Yes. And one thing, just Alan was on the tip of his tongue, but from a prefabrication point of view, we can prefabricate a lot of this as well. Now, if there's an example that, say, it's a medium temperature system or it's a style of heat generation that we don't offer currently, we're happy to still do the prefabrication facility part of it because we can still apply our expertise to a lot of that. Well, let's put in a couple of points here for a low temperature system in the future, potentially, if we can downgrade that. So apologies to jump in at that point, but I think it's just starting to talk down.
I think that demonstrates that we are at Baxi. Actually, we're providing a solution. We're not just here to manufacture and supply and sell you products. No, we want to make sure that what you're putting into your building is the correct solution for your building that's going to work for years to come.
We care about making the industry a much more efficient, much more knowledgeable, and a much more cleaner air. part of the overall carbon footprint that we have in the world. So sorry, going back to heat networks.
What about my question? Yeah, given how we've been discussing the landscape's changing, the changes in budgets, not always meeting the requirements, etc. What do you see could be the role of heat networks in all of this?
Yeah, good question. And heat networks, gosh, huge subject, but let's just break it down into facts. If you have, say, 50 flats, all with combi boilers in them, and you need to decarbonise 50 individual heat pumps in each flat, just doesn't work. From an embodied carbon point of view, it's catastrophic. From a service and maintenance point of view, it's not great. We really need to evolve past that thinking. And we've been doing this in the continent and the UK for many years. It seems to be one of the best kept secrets in decarbonisation, where we have a centralised plant room. We distribute through well-insulated and well-engineered pipework. We run pipework to each one of these flats, and we have a small heat interface unit, which we have over there. Same size as a boiler, uses the same sort of connection kit, so that replaces that. Because we're sharing the heat source, we can share any gains in efficiency. We can also, and this is a very important part, because we have a centralized plant room, as technology evolves, we don't have to change anything in each one of the flats. We just have to upgrade that one heating source, which is in this one place, under this one roof.
So our HRUs will fit in the traditional boiler cupboard?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, there might be a little cut and shuffle because everyone's boilers do different things, but for the most part, that's how they're designed to do. But heat networks are not just heat generation with heat pumps or even heat pumps and boilers. You also have, ambient loop technology where we're using things like rejection of heat from, say, supermarkets, or we're using even mines and the heat that we have in that to run it through and then use that low-grade heat and then boosting that heat where needed. And heat networks is a huge topic, but from just as a simple point of view, it makes absolute sense when traditionally we think about heat source where it's needed to centralize that for future upgradability. And that's something that we can help end to end with that. We love that stuff.
Lots of food for thought.
Just very quickly,
Do you have a last bullet point that you're like?
I want to just finish on what Ryan's saying, is because we're a solution-based company, we have the opportunity to put in the HIE element, plus we have the opportunity to be part of the package plant element in that as well. So, because we have these businesses. As far as a bullet point, and I think it's, for me personally, I think that we've got to listen to the customers on their needs, on what they want, especially from a specification point of view, and assist from that basically initial stage right through to the handover and beyond and through. So we're a solutions-based business, really, basically. That's all.
Alan, from working with contractors, a final point from you?
I think there needs to be a huge emphasis on education. We need to educate the contractors more, help them through the journey to net zero. It's got to be that's got to be a huge part of the future for us, to be fair, and try and step away from the traditional gas to a degree. We're not going to step away from it entirely, but I think we do need to educate the customers, and I think that's massive for us, and it'll definitely build collaboration for us and relationships and stuff where we can help the customer.
My bullet point, what I want to put out there is please, let's all have a vision and let's seek the knowledge to attain that vision. We can't get to where we need to be with decarbonisation using the same thoughts, the same methods, the same engineering that we've used in the past. Because it worked in the past doesn't mean it's going to work in the future properly. We want to measure, we want to investigate, we want to challenge, but most importantly, we want to talk and we want to engage with each other at early doors. Let us help you as early as possible in the projects. That way, we can help you attain that vision by sharing our knowledge with you.
Guys, really interesting conversation this morning. I think to sum up, the direction of travel for heat is really clear. And we need to work with our customers to tackle decarbonising heat in existing buildings. We need to have a holistic and effective decarbonisation, which it requires specific skills, which maybe don't exist at the moment, and that expertise as well. But we're here to help. That's what we want to do. We want to help our customers. That's from the design point of view. It's from the education for contractors as well. And whatever stage they're at, we're here to help and find the best solution for our customers. So thanks very much, guys.